We only have how many days until BYU gets Portland State?
We've got great pieces coming back to the puzzle. I expect next year to be better than this year.
When it comes time for fall, that's what Cougar Nation's gonna be thinking about, those matchups, and I'm already there.
The Big 12 has announced the football schedules as of this morning. Not a shocker. We told you it was going to happen yesterday. But now we have it, and now we get to react to it. What we love, what we hate, maybe some things that we would tweak just a little bit. So let's take a look at the 2025 BYU football schedule as it was released. We've known about the non-conference games. BYU opens up against Portland State in how many days? Just kidding, we're not going there. Then BYU will host Stanford. How about an early bye on September 13th before BYU travels to North Carolina to take on the Pirates of East Carolina? Then the Big 12 opener, an Alamo Bowl rematch at Colorado in Boulder. BYU then will host West Virginia in their Big 12 home opener before going on the road to Arizona. Utah is the shocker for so many. We'll talk about that at length in just a moment. BYU then has a road game at Iowa State. The Final Four include at Texas Tech, home to TCU, at Cincinnati, and then UCF. Jarom, 12 games down, Utah right smack in the middle. What stands out immediately to you about the current BYU football schedule?
I don't know why BYU Utah is on October 18th. Why can't it be November 29th? I don't understand.
Or in November at the worst, just late.
Like we didn't like November 9th last year. No, it's earlier. I don't understand that one. The Territorial Cup's November 29th. Why can't BYU's rivalry be there?
And homecoming for BYU, no less. Mid-October.
Homecoming used to be a big deal. It's not a big deal. They don't even do homecoming spectacular now. It's not a big deal for that. You can come back to Provo for a home game anytime you want.
BYU and Utah have never played in the month of October. Ever.
They've never played in October. They played in September.
You got to go all the way back, in the modern era.
I was going to say, in 1967.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I
1967. I mean, it's been forever.
Interesting. The bye week in week 3 stinks. TCU has one in week 2, by the way. That's even worse. There are 4 teams in the league that have one in week 3. Not ideal because you'd like to get out to sea a little more. Like Portland State, Stanford, bye. Ugh. At East Carolina, which I don't know. I'm not personally a big fan of G5 road games, period.
Did it last year.
Now that BYU's in a P4, I guess a G6 of the Pac-12. Now that BYU's P4, why? You don't need to. You don't need to. I know BYU's like a very good partner in scheduling. Tom Holm was like...
He's honoring some contracts that were back in independence.
Tom Holm was a better dude than I am. I would be like, no, we're a big dog. Sorry, no, I'm buying this one out. Playing at Iowa State is tough after Utah. That's a tough 2-game stretch there. Then a bye. I do like that bye.
Yep.
After those 2. In the middle of the season, BYU plays 5 of 7 on the road. There's a bye worked in there. That's a tough stretch. That could define the whole season, which would be interesting. Gregor Bell pointing out first time hosting West Virginia, first time playing at Iowa State. Cincinnati, November 22nd, could be a super cold one. That's interesting. The Friday night conference weekend West Virginia game. I think that's a fun game in the home opener.
Yeah.
I think BYU is going to be money every year in the home opener in Big 12. So far, I believe they're 2-0 in that situation. So, yeah, excited about it. As for how tough the schedule is and how good the opponents are, after last year, I don't even care to really predict that. We'll still try during the offseason here, but you look at it and you go, hey, somewhat favorable. In terms of, I think only 5 of those 9 teams made a bowl game. You certainly expect Utah to be better. I don't expect Colorado to be as good, although they have they have the #1 quarterback recruit in the country going there and Liberty's quarterback. West Virginia's interesting, little payback for what happened in 23. Arizona, you feel like it's winnable. At Iowa State feels like a tough game. At Texas Tech feels like a tough game. TCU, UCF at home, you like the chances there. At Cincinnati, like, hey, go win that one. So this feels like, just on the surface looking, there's a lot of details and transfer portal stuff still to be figured out. But another year where BYU could go 8+ wins. But BYU is certainly aiming for, no, December 6th, we want to be in Dallas.
I can't wait for preseason poll to be released, and then all of us to say, all right, who's picked to finish 16th? Okay, they're probably going to win it. You could win the league.
Well,
11 to 16.
And West Virginia 2 years ago was last, and they finished like top 5.
It's crazy.
What we have to fill the space, so we're going to talk about it. But
yes,
who knows?
It's so this conference so unpredictable. I put out my ideal schedule yesterday.
How does it stack up?
My November is almost identical to what I wanted.
Nice.
I wanted a bye week on November 1st before BYU had to travel to play at Texas Tech. 2 weeks to prepare for a tough road game.
Yep.
Then I had TCU at home on November 15th, at Cincinnati on November 22nd.
Look at you.
Guess what the one change I wanted there in November was?
Brigham, Utah.
And Utah to close out.
Yeah.
BYU instead gets UCF.
I want an answer from the league. Like, next time we ever talk to Yormark, be like, why not?
It might be an advantage for BYU to host UCF because they're coming from Orlando in warm weather and they got to come to elevation and it's going to be freezing on Thanksgiving weekend. So I like that aspect of it, but my goodness, I would so much rather have Utah there than UCF. And then I would have called literally from November 1st to November 29th ideal. Like, this is what I want.
Now we either give you Biff's Almanac or we put you on curing cancer at that point. Like, that would be an amazing stretch.
It's just weird. October 18th is such a strange time to play that game against Utah.
Any date but November 29th is strange to me.
Like,
why not?
At the worst point in the latter part of the schedule.
I know that's going to be the popular opinion today, and I am adding to that with a microphone here. Why not? What was last year's game not compelling enough? Was it not dramatic enough or interesting enough? Were the ratings not good enough? All of those are the opposite. It was awesome. I don't get it. So hopefully, hopefully BYU can approximate what they did last year. I think in the end, you look at where bye weeks are and where certain teams are. There's some tough stretches. Like, the toughest stretch is clearly, to me, Utah at home, Iowa State, bye week at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Those 3 and 4 weeks feel like a tough stretch. Again,
grateful for the bye week in there.
Right? And again, the calendar dictates this. There are 2 bye weeks. I love the 2 bye weeks thing. I think it's important, especially for the teams that make the playoff and go a ways.
Absolutely.
You're playing an NFL schedule.
I just wanted the bye week on conference weekend. First week of October would have been ideal.
You know who does have that?
Utah. Interesting.
Hey, watching as much as this fan base? Come on. Some of them are, but not as many. Come on.
I like that there's not a crazy travel sequence in there.
We're good.
Like, I know BYU has to go to North Carolina on September 20th, but then
by choice.
Yeah, it's coming off of a bye week.
Yeah.
But then they don't have to turn around and go somewhere else super far away. It's just a quick trip to Denver. So there are 2 road games in a row, which is never fun, but at East Carolina, at Colorado is not terrible. Now, the weird part about the schedule as far as fans go and wanting to watch at LaVell Edwards Stadium is you go almost a month between home games, September 6th to October 3rd. Mm-hmm. Like, that is a layoff.
And then you only have October 18th until November 15th. You would have 1 in a month and a half. There's an 8-week stretch. Good point by our producer, Colton Potter, who, by the way, is from Indiana and went to the Pacers-Jazz game last night.
Go Pacers, they won.
Enjoyed it. How dare you? 8-week stretch with 1 bye, 2 home games, 5 road games. That's tough, man.
That's a unique setup, to say the least.
BYU has 2 home games up front and then 2 of the last 3.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 wedged in the middle, like we said, that are...
You have a month between home games.
It's going to be
a month.
You always got to be road warriors. So now, how did last year's team thrive? They said, "Hey, no one believes we can do this." If I'm Kalani today, whether it's real or not, I go, the Big 12 doesn't want us to win this. Look at us having to go on the road so much. Look at the you can make up stuff to motivate your team to somewhat. I'm not talking unethically. I'm just talking.
Sure.
Michael Jordan looks at someone, they give him a weird look. Now he's like fired up about it. Okay, whatever reason you need to be fired up, get up for the game. BYU has a reason to go. Oh, we're gonna have to be road warriors. No one thinks we can go on the road.
That's the new angle.
That's the new
mental advantage.
That's what I'm saying. And then they go, well, Cougar Nation's going to show up at all these road games. Which road game is the most desirable here, by the way? at ECU, at Colorado, at Arizona, at Iowa State, at Texas Tech, at Cincinnati.
Those are all kind of not super popular destinations.
Yeah.
Ames, Lubbock. I mean, I like Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a great place.
Major city there is what? Denver with Colorado?
Denver's probably the easiest trip to make, and even then,
And it's in September. It's not going to be cold yet.
45-minute drive to Boulder. Boulder, if you haven't watched a college football game in Boulder, it's an awesome experience. Like the facade, the whole setup of the stadium there,
Nice.
really cool setup. So
I want to just sit in the Colorado part in the end.
yeah,
Just like try and scale scale that.
with that black facade and the gold letters.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a cool setup. It's a cool place to watch a college football
Yeah.
game. It's Boulder is 100% a college town, so you will feel that. So that might be a destination. Ames, if you want like true college town experience and like this is the only thing going on around, then you go to Ames and you watch the game at Iowa State. 59,000 people
Yeah.
fit in that stadium.
Jack Trice, man.
That would be a unique setup, but it's a hard place to get to. It's
Yeah.
not, and it's not cheap to get to. So yeah, there's some interesting road destinations. Lubbock also not great. Not easy to get to in terms. Not great for travel.
I want that to be clipped out of context. Lubbock, not great.
Hey, we like our Texas Tech homies.
Remember when we showed there was a house for sale that was like a BYU sports themed like man cave or whatever.
Yes.
Which was in Lubbock. So you'll have to go check that out. You have to go see it. Maybe it's still on the
See
market.
if it's still there.
Maybe
and
BYU
available.
Sports Station should buy it.
Real estate special.
We just rent it out for BYU road games.
Okay, listen. If you were going to make one tweak immediately, other than the Utah game,
It's like the one.
other
right?
than the Utah game,
Ooh.
what would it be? Because that to me is the real question. Everybody wants to change the Utah game November 29th, but what after that?
Now that we've chronicled sort of this like 8-week run of only 2 home games, like mix in another home game in there somewhere. Maybe I'd love the bye week later. I don't mind Portland State and Stanford back to back. I think BYU. By the way, to your question in a second, but I think BYU can get off to a hot start in this season.
Yes, I was just going to say 5-1 to me feels very doable.
Absolutely. And who's the loss? Colorado, West Virginia, Arizona. I don't think BYU's losing to Stanford at home. We'll call that the Hinckley Ropati game or the LJ Martin game, right?
Maybe give him one place for the typical hiccup in there.
Yeah, which last year BYU didn't have until the end. It was the Kansas game was the hiccup.
Yeah.
Right? And one would argue only 2 losses, whatever. Probably I'd rather November 1st. November 1st you have a bye week. I don't know. Utah at Iowa State at Texas Tech. I'd like something, another game, another opponent, a Cincinnati, a UCF, maybe even a TCU. I don't know. In there so that you don't stack those 3 in a row.
The only other thing I would change is the bye week. Yeah, the
early one?
Like move that bye week
like
to
the
the
November
first week of October. So you have a bye week the first week of October, and then a bye week, the first week of November. Maybe put Iowa State or Utah after the bye week too.
Right? Last year was nice with Utah after the bye week, but Utah also had said bye week. So it was like,
I didn't like that.
Neutralized.
Yeah. But I do love that BYU has a bye before Texas Tech.
Overall, 3rd year in the Big 12, I'm still excited to just be in a Power 4 league. Like, we're like kind of used to it, but I'm not completely used to it. I'm going, hey, this is awesome. Let's go. And this is a schedule where BYU could win 10+. I'm not saying they're going to win 10+. I want them to. We all want them. We want them to win 12. But I think this team with this schedule, they could do some damage. You got to win all those one-score games like you did.
Listen,
at that level to do it.
BYU's going to open up as a top 20 team, probably top 16. I think they'll probably show up somewhere around 16 to begin the preseason polls. You start 5-1, you're hanging around the entire time.
You're interesting.
And I feel like 5-1 is very, very feasible with this schedule.